In the last episode, we examined the first 3 months of 1967. We talked about the times and the great music that was created in just those 3 months. But we're just getting started. So now, let's spring into the sunshine. Go ahead, put some flowers in your hair, break out the beads, and let's drop the needle. In April of 1967, out in sunny Los Angeles, a group called the Turtles have a huge hit, Happy Together, on their third album. Besides the title, the album also includes the hit She'd Rather Be With Me. While in the windy city of Chicago, Roger Ebert publishes his first film review in the Chicago Sun-Times, starting an amazing and respected career of film reviews. And in the boxing world, Muhammad Ali is stripped of his title for refusing the draft induction and claiming he's a conscientious objector. While in the Bronx, tripping on their second album, the Blues Magoos release Electric Comic Book. The good tracks are Pipe Dream, Life is Just a Cheruboli's, Gloria, Intermission, and that's all, folks. Still tripping, let's fly 8 miles high back to Los Angeles and meet the Electric Prunes. Their first album contains the hit I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night, and the follow-up hit, Get Me to the World on Time. As Monty Python would say, years in the future, and now for something completely different, we'll go up to the Great White North, where Gordon Lightfoot has released his second album. The album is entitled The Way I Feel. Great songs on it are Walls, Softly, the title track, and the amazing Canadian Railroad Trilogy. Wow, what an April, and we're just getting started in 1967. So let's roll into May because we had no idea what was just about to happen. Okay, this is it. A watershed event. The Beatles release Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Now, I can remember as a teenager walking through the streets of Old Town in Chicago. And you heard this record everywhere. People had their windows open and you'd hear the music drifting out into the streets. Now, this was before any digital or streaming or anything. Everybody was playing the album. And of course, there was no way it could be in sync. So you're walking down the street and you're hearing parts of She's Leaving Home against Lovely Rita. It was wild. But no matter where you were, sometime during the day, you'd hear that massive crescendo chord at the end of A Day in the Life. It did seem like the whole world was playing that album. In fact, they were. Also out of the UK, another power trio like the Cream explodes, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, with their first album, Are You Experienced? And just like Sgt. Pepper's, here's music I'd never heard anything like before. How does the man play guitar like that? Now, just 2 days after Sgt. Pepper's had been released, Paul McCartney tells the story about how he and George Harrison went to a club in England to see Jimi Hendrix. Now, Sgt. Pepper's, as I said, had only been out for 2 days. And what is the song that Hendrix opens his set with? But the title track to Sgt. Pepper's, in front of Paul and George. Paul says, it blew him away. I saw Hendrix play live in Chicago. What a concert. And I talked about it in one of my earlier episodes, so you might want to check that out. San Francisco continues to trip out. A group called Country Joe and the Fish release Electric Music for the Mind and Body. Now, this is a real psychedelic album. It contains Flying High, Not So Sweet Martha Lorraine, Happiness is a Porpoise Mouth, Superbird, and Grace. And to enhance the psychedelic experience, while the band played live, they would project light shows behind them. Very heady stuff. Further south, down in LA, the Prefab Four, the Monkees, finally get to play their own instruments and write their own songs on the album Headquarters. This is a major breakthrough for the band, as Mike Nesmith had been fighting for this since the beginning. Standout tracks are You Told Me, For Pete's Sake, Early Morning Blues and Greens, and Randy Scouse Git. Around the same time, across town, the Mothers of Invention released their second album, Absolutely Free, sounding nothing like the Monkees. And my friend Brad Gardner reviewed that in a previous episode, as well as ranking his top 10 Mothers of Invention and Frank Zappa records. No matter how much great music comes out in '67, and a lot does, the year belongs to the masterpiece, to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Along with all this groovy feelings, there are some bad vibes as war breaks out between Israel, Egypt, and Syria. It's called the 6-Day War because, yeah, it lasted for 6 days. But the world is still feeling consequences of that war. In the spring of 1967, the Supreme Court rules that any state law prohibiting interracial marriage is unconstitutional. Wow. Took to 1967 to do that? Now we get to June. We're not even halfway through 1967, and two major musical events happen in June. The first one is the Monterey Pop Festival. It's a 3-day music event held in Northern California. Performers include the Association, Jefferson Airplane, the Mamas and the Papas, Laura Nyro, Ravi Shankar, the Grateful Dead, Big Brother and the Holding Company with Janis Joplin, Eric Burdon and the Animals, Otis Redding, and the explosive U.S. live debuts of The Who and the Jimi Hendrix Experience. There is a movie that you can find online and a great live recording of Otis Redding's set and Hendrix's. The second musical event is the first international satellite television program broadcast to the entire world out of the BBC Control Center in London. They accepted feeds from 14 countries around the world to make the program. And then the finale came back into a recording studio in London where the Beatles perform a song that John Lennon had written specifically for this event. And they perform All You Need Is Love live to a worldwide audience estimated somewhere between 400 and 700 million people. Out on the West Coast, a new band called the Moby Grape releases their first album, and they are seen as direct competitors to the Buffalo Springfield. The album includes some great songs like 805, Hey Grandma, Omaha, Naked If I Want To, and Changes. Oh yeah, I graduate from high school. So that means come fall, I'll be going to college. Now my first pick was UCLA, but being an out-of-state student, so I'll be going to Southern Illinois University. But I'll transfer to UCLA. Oh yeah, and my band, The Darkness, well, we only have 2.5 more months of this summer to play. And boy, did we ever. Let's all take a toke. Take a deep breath and try to absorb what just happened in the spring of '67. What an incredible amount of music that came out. So as we get ready in the next episode to look at what happens in the summer, pull out Sgt. Pepper's and keep it rockin'. If you like this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out.